talk about the convention and mail-in ballots, and just to kind of give us an update on where we are there. So I know Glenn was on earlier. I hope he's still there. If not,
I'm right here. Here we are.
Thanks.
Let me start with the state convention, and I'll do this briefly because the call's gone on for a time here. The Texas Democratic Convention will continue on the same date. We've been prohibited from meeting in San Antonio. We're considerably bigger than a group of 10 people. It's over 12,000 delegates. So there will not be an in-place convention. We will do it all online. The TDP staff has worked diligently over the last weeks. We got through the March 21st county conventions for delegates to sign up. That process is complete. We're working through that. We're going through, many of you, if you are a delegate, have gotten an email to check your presidential preference status, of whether you're for the 4 remaining candidates that have national delegates. We'll need to know that before April the 20th, so that national delegate ballots can be sent out in May. The convention will be completely online at texasdemocraticconvention.com. Every committee meeting will be publicly available online for both the delegates and people from around the state to watch. We plan to have a full dynamic program like we've always had. You know, our keynote speaker is Nancy Pelosi. All of that will continue as scheduled, and probably with even more speakers because of the fact that it's digital and people don't have to travel. So at texasdemocraticconvention.com, you can we'll able to see all those live streams. All the schedules will be up. It'll still be, the convention was scheduled for July 4th through 6th in San Antonio. The convention now, the changes, the state executive committee will adopt rules on April 15th for emergency rules for this online convention. All of the votes that occur at a state convention will now be done electronically online. But instead of everything happening over a 2-day period, the voting period will actually be over a 2.5-week period. Deadlines for people to file for national delegate, for committees of the convention, for offices like state executive committee, presidential elector, all of those deadlines are now going to be May 15th. So we still have a ways to go, and people can sign up for all of those. That online sign up is happening. I put the link of txdem.co/delegates to find where to sign up for all of those things. You can do that currently. As soon as we get past that deadline of May 15th, the convention will technically be called to order. The first set of ballots will be for the committees of the convention. They'll go out May 17th. For every vote, there will be a 2-day period for people to cast their ballots online for the members of these committees. A few days later, the ballots will go out for national delegate. There'll be a couple days for people to vote for their national delegates for their presidential preference. Other elections along the way, all the way up to committee reports on June the 3rd, and final committee report adoptions on July 6th. So everything we've always done at a convention will happen in a virtual sense. If you have particular questions, my email is in the comments. It's glenn@txdemocrats.org. Email me with any individual questions and I'll answer them for you. Let me talk a little bit about voting by mail. As we all know, the challenges of a July 14th runoff election and a November election in the time of social distancing is going to be a huge challenge. The fact that most of us will not want to go to a polling place. A lot of polling places are in school classrooms or small spaces. Um, Social distancing can't happen in those areas. So having in-person voting is going to be a huge challenge. Uh, Secondly, the clerks are reporting right now that they don't believe that they can even get 20% of their usual election workers to actually work an election, and have literally thousands of people breathing on them, standing above them in line, looking down at them at a table. Most of our workers are people in high risk groups, being senior citizens like myself. And secondly, in most voters would be touching a touchscreen device, and touching those devices will be highly problematic. So having more people vote by mail is going to be the goal. It's all of under current law, people over 65, disabled people, people in jail, people out of county can vote by mail. All of those people can request their ballots as we speak. I put the links in the comments. You can go to our site and print out your own application if you're over 65 or disabled. You can go to another link and put in a name of somebody you know. If you have an elderly relative or shut-in friend or a disabled friend, you can put their name and address, and the party will send an application to them if they don't have a printer or access to postage in an envelope right now. We will send an application in the mail to them with plenty of time for them to fill it out. So the biggest issue now comes about what happens to everybody who is between the ages of 18 and 65 who cannot vote under current law, supposedly. Uh, the Secretary of State so far has given very little guidance. The governor could issue an order. The Secretary of State could define disability to way most of us, most of our attorneys think it can be defined. Let me sort of state that. The definition of disability for voting by mail is to have an illness or a medical condition that puts you at risk for going to a polling place. Many attorneys right now define medical condition in the age of COVID as being healthy. I am healthy, that's a medical condition, and it puts me at risk to go to a polling place. Therefore, we believe that a voter right now could ask for a mail ballot if they're 18 to 65 and mark disability for that reason. However, we know that that will be challenged by some of our Republican or right-wing friends that don't want mail balloting to occur, because the more people that vote, the less likely they will win. So the Texas Democratic Party preemptively has filed a lawsuit in state district court. That's before District Judge Tim Sulak here in Travis County. We are suing the Dana DeBevoise, the county clerk in Travis County, and to get a definition of what this vote by mail definition is. The Texas Civil Rights Project, the American Civil Liberties Union, and other groups around the country have joined that lawsuit. There will be other voting rights groups joining it. There's a hearing being scheduled within the next week that will be online, so you can all watch it if you so desire, to get a definitive ruling about whether the definition of disability is broad enough for anybody to ask for a vote by mail application and ballot. So we're in that process. We think that most of this within the next 30 days will be through the appeals court, and we'll have a final decision. We expect, let me just put a fine point on this. Under current law, if a person says they're disabled marks disability on an application, current law and SOS guidance says that no one can challenge a voter for asking for a ballot by the reason of disability. It doesn't require a doctor's note, doesn't desire a diagnosis of anything, you can't jump into the mind of the voter who asks for a vote by mail application for reason of disability. That's very clear. And so at whatever point we get to a definition that's clear that we know now it can't be challenged, we're sort of hesitant to tell everybody go ahead and use the reason of disability and then have a court say that we interpreted that wrong, and then all those people believe they can vote by mail, but they don't, they get their ballot rejected. So we don't want that confusion to happen. We want this to get fine-tuned, settled before we go that place. So I'm a plaintiff. I represent the Texas Democratic Party in the lawsuit, so I cannot go into any of the other legal strategies about the lawsuit because I am a plaintiff in the suit, personally.
So one question is that I asked another person, is there anything we can do? I asked Vicki if there's anything we can do to help bring this to the fore, or at least push on the governor or somebody to.
Holy hell with the governor's office who could issue this order. You could be talking to the Texas Secretary of State who could define disability on their own guidance. They could issue that and it would be over today. Because I think most lawyers agree that our belief that being healthy in the age of COVID disability, the black and white statute says that, we believe. And the Secretary of State could issue that guidance that people can vote and it would be over. We could be signing people up right now. Just know that whatever we learn in the next 30 days, once we get past that, we will have full guidance and we will have every place that a person can download an application. We will send applications. I expect that there will be millions of dollars coming into Texas to make sure a vote by mail application is sent to every Democrat in Texas so that they get a ballot not only in the runoff election, but surely for the November election. We will win this election if we're voting by mail because we'll make sure every Texan has an application. Let me just, a fine point. Some people have asked the question about why don't we just send a ballot to everybody in the primary election? The problem with that, we're not like Colorado or Oregon in that we don't have party registration. So if we did that, that's 16 million applications that would have to go out to every Texan, and you would have to send a Democrat and a Republican ballot, and then trust that people would not go afoul of the law and vote twice in both primaries and all of those kind of problems. So we can't get to just mail a ballot for the runoff election.
Gotcha. And would your guidance be that if you are 65 and older, you should just do it anyway, whether you want to go to the polls or not?
I think everybody over 65 should go ahead and do it. Let me just sort of say, we already had an issue for the November election that because of no straight ticket voting, people are going to take considerably longer in a polling place in the highest turnout election we've ever had in the state of Texas with the most voters we've ever had in the state of Texas. We were going to have extraordinarily long lines. And so already our intent for the November election was to tell every senior, don't take up time in a polling place. Don't take up time in a polling booth. You need to get your ballot at home, vote for all Democrats from the top to the bottom of the ballot, have your ballot in the box already when early voting starts. Don't take up time in line where younger voters won't stay in a line. We need every Democrat to vote. So seniors should vote by mail, no matter whether it's COVID reason or the polling place lines and straight ticket voting. If you're over 65, don't be the person who says, I just love to go to a polling place. It makes me feel so good. That is not what a good Democrat will do in 2020. a good Democrat over 65 is going to get a mail ballot. They're going to do the application right now, vote in the primary and the general election at home at their kitchen table, vote for everybody from president down to constable and local issues. Don't be a well, I don't know. I don't know the name I want to call you. If you're my age, vote by mail.
Yeah. So is it clear? So Anne is asking if it's clear if the governor has the authority to allow vote by mail under his emergency power.
Well, this is a legal challenge. There are attorneys, and clearly the Texas Democratic Party attorney is very hesitant to ask the governor to do anything under the emergency power, because if we say that he has the power to order it, I mean, if it's clear he has under his emergency power, then he would have the power to cancel an election, and
Yeah.
we don't want that.
No.
I mean, it's an emperor. He becomes an emperor. He can change all election law. So we really would want a court or the legislature through a special session to do this. But we believe that not under his emergency powers, but under the guidance of the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State has the power to interpret election law. The Attorney General does. And we both believe that they could define disability under current black and white law as being able to vote in the age of COVID.
Okay. Well, if there's something specific we can do as far as sending emails and what those emails might say, if you want to send us some language, I'm sure that people have lots of time to do that right now. So Wendy Davis has a question. Once someone requests a vote by mail application, a qualifying person, for the primary or primary runoff, they will automatically be sent one for the general, correct?
Anytime somebody asks over 65 or disability reason, and they write annual ballot, if we mail them an application, it always says annual ballot. So in big block letters, if you're 65 or you use disability, if you write the word annual, you'll get all ballots for the year.
Right. That's not the case for college students, because I know my daughter has to renew every term.
If you go to our website, you'll see that with people out of the county, right now, if they know, they can send an application. And our vote by mail application generator will send, if it doesn't today, it will in a matter of days. When you say I'm out of the county, it will say, do you want a ballot for both the runoff and the November election? It will print out both of them. You can put them in the same envelope. It has to do strange Texas law. It has to have two different applications if you're out of the county, but you can request them now for both elections in the same envelope.
Okay, good to know. All right. Well, that was really important information. So thank you, Lynn, for popping on here and being so patient with us as we work through everyone. I still have a few things I want to cover, guys.